Welcome to MMA Noise. I'm Mike Straka, sitting with the World Series of Fighting middleweight champion Dave Branch, and you're going for the light heavyweight title right now. Congratulations, by the way. What made you go up in weight?
Well, I mean, I already did everything and cleaned everybody out at the 185-pound division on my way up in the tournament style, and then I fought Yushin Okami and beat him, which was he was a tough guy. And I just figured I'd give myself another challenge and fight at 205 and do something great and be among, you know, a few people who have been able to hold
Randy
belts.
Couture,
exactly.
BJ Penn, perhaps Frankie Edgar if he can get that featherweight strap.
That's right. That's right.
And Dave Branch.
That's right.
You'll be the only guys to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, who are you fighting?
Fighting a guy named Teddy Holder.
Yeah, Teddy's tough.
He's a tough kid. Yeah, he's a tough kid. I'm ready for him though. I have the answers to beat him, and I'm gonna go in there and get it done.
Now, obviously, 185. It's a tough weight cut for you.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling right now? I mean, you're fighting in just a couple days.
Yes.
How you feeling?
I feel great. I mean, like I'm one of the biggest 85s in the world, and you know, getting down there when I get to 190, it's like it's tough. But now my weight is like really good. I'll have the speed factor and the strength factor. Nobody's gonna really bully me around at 205 or 85. This one I won't have to kill myself as much cutting weight. So I'm really excited for this one because I've been training really a longer time for this one than my last fight. And I'm excited to see how my body's going to react out there. I mean, I pretty much know, but I can't wait.
Now, I remember I interviewed you after your first World Series of Fighting fight, and that was after Hurricane Katrina. You couldn't find your daughter. That was a rough time for you.
It was a rough time. It was a rough time. I didn't hear from my daughter. You know, I was making weights. I had to make weight on the baggage scale to check my weight. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. And when I got out there, I had to go from different airports and stuff like that, and I fought a tough guy, Dustin Jacoby, who's doing very well in Glory right now.
Yeah, Dustin's great. Great fighter. You kick his ass, but he's a great fighter. It was a tough fight.
Yeah, it was a tough fight.
No, but Dustin's a really good kickboxer.
He's a good guy.
Man.
He's a good guy. Very good guy.
They're all good guys.
Yeah, they're all good guys.
Have you ever met a bad dude in MMA?
Everybody.
Tito Ortiz?
Hi, Tito. I don't really know Tito too much, but I know that my boy Liam is gonna smash him pretty good.
I feel bad for Tito.
I don't.
There's one guy. There's two guys around here. Well, actually, besides Renzo Gracie. See, Sapo, I'll fight Sapo because he won't hurt me too, but he'll just choke me out and nice and quietly.
Yeah, Sapo's
you smash me. I'll hit you. I'll break my hand. And Liam's the same way. Liam's like he's nasty.
Yeah, Liam's nasty. He's been a really good component in this training camp. Me and him are really good friends, and we're close training partners. So me and him, we push each other in training camp, and you know, we've had about 14, 13 weeks of just doing that nonstop.
Yep.
So, you know, we've been on a roll, and we're just gonna keep the momentum going.
You know, besides Yushin, what do you think your biggest fight?
I think my biggest fight is when I won the world title, and that was something that really put me up there as a world champion. Besides Yushin Okami, I mean, I fought a lot of tough guys.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to put him at the top of the totem pole of guys that I fought, because there's some guys that really haven't had a big name out there that were really tough.
Yeah, like Dustin.
You know, there's a lot of different guys. You know, one guy that I really respect and I became really good friends with was a guy, Rich Antonito.
Oh yeah,
when I fought him, and you know, he's a really tough dude, man. And you know, I was nervous in that fight because he's got hands.
Yeah. And
my hands weren't really developed in that fight. You know, he had Howie Davis Jr. in his corner, so I knew what they wanted to do. You know, they wanted to blow my brains out. You know, so I was like, man. And so that's one guy that was like really tough. But you know, a lot of people don't really give him the respect that he deserved when he was a fighter. Now I think he's retired now, but you know, when he was a fighter, he was a dangerous guy.
Do you ever think that it would come to this? 2 titles?
I knew it was going to come to this because after my loss with Anthony Johnson, I decided to take my training really serious. Like when I first lost, my first loss I suffered was to Gerald Harris, and I was going through a lot of stuff in life. I was going through, I was about to have my son, and arguing, and just my head wasn't right, you know. And then I lost again. After I won, I lost to Husamal Paharis. Once again, I was like more of a mental thing. And then when I fought Anthony Johnson, I wasn't really there, you know. Not to take anything away from him. He beat me fair and square. All of those guys did. But my mind is in a completely different place now. I'm completely confident in my abilities and myself. I'm happier as a person, and I take my training a lot more serious. You know, I'm more of a professional than I ever was.
Now, who have you modeled yourself after fighting-wise?
GSP was one of the guys that I really looked at a lot. I looked at a lot of different boxers, Sugar Ray Leonard. I looked at Marvin Hagler. I looked at guys like Willie Pep. I looked at a lot of different football players, a lot of different basketball players. you know, just different speakers and stuff like that. So
Now you said you came off the street. You're not an All-American wrestler. I mean, how did you start fighting?
oh man, it's a long story. I started off fighting when I was a kid. You know, I grew up in the projects in the Bronx, on Colgate Avenue and Story Avenue in the Bronx. And you know, my brothers and like his friends used to make me fight all the time. And you know, I went to the group home. I was like locked up a few times. And you know, this is just something that I did, like growing up fighting. I think that when I really wanted to start fighting is when I seen like a tape of a UFC 3 tape of Renzo Gracie, and he was like taking out everybody, and I was like, man, this is something that I really want to do. And that's something that really inspired me to want to fight, and I just followed the dream from there.
What brought you to Renzo Gracie Academy?
Helson Gracie brought me to Renzo Gracie Academy because, you know, I was like at a school in the Bronx, one of his association schools, and he said that, you know, for me to be able to get a lot better, Renzo's school will be able to push you. You know, my cousin will be able to push you, all his guys will be able to push you. So I came here and I found out that it was true.
You know, talking about some of your fights, was there a moment in your career where you decided, or actually you came to fruition that you can do this?
Yes. When I fought Paulo Costa, okay, like I was like a little nervous because I remember watching Paulo Costa when I used to be at home smoking weed, and I wasn't even a white belt. This guy was a black belt already, and he was like destroying people in Pride. I knew nothing about anything about fighting. And at that time, when I first watched him, if you put me in a ring with him, you'd have killed me. So this is a guy that I've looked at over and over again. He was #2 right behind Anderson Silva for a long time until he started having problems. And I took him serious. Everybody was saying, oh, he's got these problems, he's got that problem. But I said, he's still Paulo Costa. Everybody's like, well, is it the real Paulo Costa that's going to show up? And I was like, there's only one Paulo Costa that I know of, and that's this guy right here. I don't know anybody else. Everybody's got issues. I don't know who's going to show up that night. You know, we've seen a lot of fighters that are off and on. You see a guy like Vitor Belfort when he was going through his things, and sometimes he'd be off, and then he was just on. You know, so like I didn't know who was going to show up, and I think that at that time when I fought him, I don't think that if it was the old Paulo Costa, the new Paulo Costa, the whatever, which one, I think it was going to be the same results. And that's when I realized I was like, man, I'm going to go all the way with this to the top.
And you did. Johnny Bones, think he's going to come back?
I hope he does. I hope Jon Bones Jones comes back. I wish I could talk to him.
What would you say to him?
I would say a lot of things to him. A lot of great things to him, because he's great. I would only give him constructive criticism. That's a guy that I respect him as a fighter. I understand that we all have issues in life and things that we go through, and I'm not one to come down on the things that he's done. You know, I'd love to have a talk with him, and I'd love to see him come back. I love watching him fight. I think he's a great fighter. He's one of my favorites to watch.
All right. This is Dave Branch. He's going to be one of only 2 people at the moment to have 2 belts simultaneously. Good luck, brother.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
I'm rooting for you. I love you.
Thank you, man. Hi, I'm David Branch. You're watching MMA Noise on Louder Noise TV.